So basically, I'm going to present this module or standard unit on performance and competitiveness. The purpose of the presentation is not really to give a lecture or to teach the module, but to just screen through what the module covers. In terms of the aim of the module or the standard unit is to conscientize or to educate students about the concept of performance and competitiveness as the precondition for success in the contemporary business, social, as well as economic and political worlds that have become increasingly competitive. The concept of performance relates to the outcome of individual behavior or action affecting individual or organizational goals. The notion of competitiveness also relates to the competitive advantage that individuals or organizations attain when their performance is relatively superior. Now, to enhance both their performance and competitiveness, individuals and organizations should be able to manage the totality of their resources, including time, human resources, and other forms of capital more efficiently and effectively. Now, in terms of the module content, the standard unit comprises 7 units or teaching and learning units. The first one is actually the conceptualization of the word performance. Second unit is to review the theories of performance. Third unit is on performance measurements. Fourth unit is competition and competitiveness. Unit number 5 is on the determinants and measurement of competitiveness. Unit number 6 addresses the relationship between competition and performance. And the last unit ties ethics to performance and competitiveness. Now, in terms of unit 1, the learning and teaching, or the teaching and learning outcome is the conceptualization and understanding of key concepts of performance. Now, to achieve this outcome, the concept of performance will be unpacked to ensure students are able to define, categorize, and contextualize the concept of performance. In simple English, performance is defined as how well a person does his or her duty, considering their behavior, action, and outcomes. Generally, in terms of the concept itself, there are 5 prerequisites to performance. So students should understand for performance to be attained, there is a need for continuous learning, number 1. Number 2, there is a need to be proactive. Number 3, teamwork is so important in terms of achieving performance. Number 4, technological innovation is at the center of performance today. And number 5, globalization. So now these things are quite, more details are given about each of these prerequisites in the standard unit. Performance has got 2 main categories or dimensions. The first one being task performance and the second one being context performance. Now, I won't be giving details because, again, all the details are in the module or the standard unit material itself. Now, what students will note about the concept of performance is that it is a versatile endeavor which changes over time in response to both short-term and long-term factors. Short-term factors could be fatigue, for instance. Somebody who's been working so hard for long hours, they may malperform. But also long-term factors in maybe learning and skill acquisitions, which may make it easier for somebody to perform. Unit number 2 will cover theories of performance. And the teaching and learning outcome is for students to understand the theories of performance in relation to lived social and economic experiences. Now, under this unit, students should be able to explain key theories and relate them to everyday business and social realities using practical examples that the lecturers may choose or their facilitator may choose. Now, again, I won't explain these key theories in the interest of time, but they will be dealing with individual different perspectives. They will discuss situational perspective. These are theories of performance, but also the third one is performance regulation perspective. The details are provided in the material for the module. Unit number 3, it's about performance measurements. The teaching and learning outcome under this unit is for students to conceptualize and to gain a conceptual and practical understanding of performance measurement framework, but also they must develop or they should develop a practical skill design and apply key performance indicators, balance scorecards. So that is what they use to measure performance as suggested in this module. Now, the module provides a definition for performance measurements. It also provides the importance or explains why it is important to measure performance. And the key reason is that what you measure is what you get. So unless you are measuring what you are doing, you would not really know if that you're achieving what you wanted to achieve. Now, the balance scorecard is quite an important measurement that is used in the business world, in the corporate world, to measure performance of both individuals and organizations. The company can measure its own performance in the company using this balance scorecard. It can also use it to measure the performance of each employee. So again, details are provided in this module material. Unit number 4 addresses competition and competitiveness. So we need to look at how the two relate. The teaching and learning outcome is that students need, again, to understand how to conceptualize and also define the key concept of competitiveness and competition. The definition of competitiveness is provided in the material. The definition for competition is also provided. Now, also for competitiveness, students will be aware that there are 3 facets or dimensions of competitiveness, which is price competitiveness, quality competitiveness, and outcome competitiveness. Now, they will discuss these in details and in relation to how they relate to performance as well. But here we are dealing with just competition and competitiveness. Module provides the definition for competition, and also it provides the different forms and degrees of competition. The focus is mostly on economic competition, although something is said about other forms of competition, such as sport competition, political competition, and so on. Unit 5 of the module discusses the determinants and measurements of competitiveness. Remember, under Unit 3, it was the measurements of performance. Unit number 5, it is the measurements of competitiveness. Now, the teaching and learning outcome here is for students to understand the determinants and measurements of competitiveness. There is a figure here in my presentation, but also in the standard unit material, which provides us a picture of competitiveness at different levels. But the focus in this module should be on the microeconomic level of competitiveness. Now, at this level, there are a number of things that a company should do to achieve competitiveness at the company level. That's why we're talking about a microeconomic level. But if we were to talk about a country's economic performance, that would be looking at the macroeconomic. But in this module, although there is content on that, the focus should really be on the microeconomic, which actually says that for a company to achieve competitiveness, it must focus on the overall quality of their business environment and how the different dimensions of the environment interact, since the overall quality of the environment affects productivity, innovation, growth, and growth within a company. Number two, the company should focus on the development of business clusters, trying to see where companies are concentrated in a particular field or in their own field, so that they can use that to enhance productivity and enable the formation of new businesses for the company to expand as well. But also, number three, the company needs to focus on the sophistication of their business operations and strategy, because their capacity to achieve economic performance will depend on relevant skills, capabilities, and management practices. I'll do unit number 6. Unit number 6 is about really relationship between competition and performance. The teaching and learning outcome here is for students to understand how performance relates to competition. Now here, the students will discover that there is competition is regarded as something that can help improve performance for both individuals and organizations. And that is because almost everyone is involved in competition in one way or another. And since they are involved in competition, everyone seeks to develop a competitive advantage. And also research has shown that competition affects both individual and organizational behaviors. It can influence performance positively or negatively, depending on the context. Competition enhances performance through different incentives, and these incentives are provided when you are faced with competition. What does that actually trigger in you as a company or as an individual to perform better? So they will hear about implicit rewards, and they will learn about incentives for research and development at a company level, but also at an individual level as well. I'll do unit standard number 7, which actually deals with performance, competitiveness, and ethics. Now, ethics are so important because there is a paradox when we're talking about performance and competition or competitiveness. The paradox is that morally apprehensible values such as self-interest and egoism and rivalry are regarded as tools to achieve broader societal benefits, such as performance, success, and progress. So that is quite a paradox that students will have to discuss. But research shows that competition can be associated with negative factors, such as aggression and hostility. And in the case of South Africa, we know a lot of stuff happening, including xenophobia and other things, people killing each other because they feel like they should be in charge, in control of whatever sector. Now, ethics can help people compete and perform in a competition situation. Now, the principle of fair competition encourages actors to compete freely on a level playing field with adherence to fair business practices based on quality, appropriate price, and customer service, which are crucial for a thriving economy. So the adherence to ethical codes of conduct is increasingly regarded as a good practice, but also as a strategy to enhance competitiveness in business. So students will have to discuss this to understand how they can actually adopt ethical behaviors despite competition, and that helps them perform. Now, quickly at the end, I'm going to talk about assessments. The unit will consist of two forms of assessment. Number one, formative assessment, and number two, summative assessment. The aim of the formative assessment is to monitor students' learning progress and to adjust the teaching methods when necessary at the end of each teaching and learning unit to improve teaching and ensure that learning outcomes of the standard unit are achieved. Now, the formative assessment should account for 50% of the overall score for the module and may consist of different informal and formal quizzes and tests. That includes a desktop research or essay, assignment, a group assignment, and at least 2 tests or quizzes. Now, the tests can comprise essay questions and short answer questions as well. A summative assessment is what is called a final examination, designed to gauge the overall learning of the learners at the end of the course. It will account also for another 50% of the overall score, which makes it 100, and should cover all the learning units of the module. So the final examination may comprise both essays and short answer questions as well. So thank you very much. That was the brief.